Welcome back to the channel. It's been a busy summer and it's been hotter than balls, and on top of that, I'm busy. This is something I just do in my spare time and haven't had much of it. It's been a few months since there's been a video, but thank you for being here, for sticking around, and for, if this is the first time you're finding me, finding the channel. And today we're going to talk about a budget AR. And if you know me, you know that anything budget is really not my wheelhouse. People have called me a gun snob, a gear whore, whatever you want to call it. Like, yes, I like really nice bougie things. I like top tier equipment. I like stuff that I really can depend on. So the budget area is not normally my thing, but this was something that I wanted to talk about because I've had people buying really nice guns as their first AR, their first rifle, or first handgun, which is fantastic. Buy once, cry once, and all that. But if you don't have a big budget, and this is what I get a lot, is people go, I don't have a lot of money to spend. What should I get for my first handgun, Glock 19 Gen 3? Or if you're going to go red dot, then you definitely need to get the Shadow Systems MR920 or DR920, whichever one is the Glock knockoff. That's the handgun that I recommend. Or for rifles, I was looking for something that could fill that gap from, $2,000 in, the type A stuff that I typically deal with, get below that so that you could have a fully kitted out AR that was under $1,000 with optic, with sling, to make a fully complete package that you could then go spend the rest of your money on training so you can get to use your gun. Because it's no good to have a really good gun that you only go sit at indoor ranges and punch holes at paper and don't actually know how to use it. So this is what I came up with for a sub $1,000 package for a good enough gun, okay? I'm not gonna say it's just as good, because it's not, but it's good enough to get you going out on the range and not totally shit the bed the first time you start to shoot it. So this is the Unbranded AR 16-inch, I think they call it the UAR, with the full-length rail on it. I'll go into the specs in just a second, but I settled on this gun because the gun itself MSRPs for $730 for the gun, without the optic, without the sling, all that, and that includes one magazine, and that is a hell of a good price. Now, I will say the gun itself, I've seen them retailing more for in the $650 range. By the way, I did buy this gun at dealer discount, so I paid less than $650. But in coming up with this $1,000 budget, I put this at about $600 to $650. Maybe you'll find it less. And then I came up with, for the optic, I chose the Sig Romeo MSR, which was $229 for the optic and the magnifier. I'm going to tell you right now, I hate this optic and I hate this magnifier. So $229 though, it's enough to get you started. The sling itself, because you got to have a sling, $16.99 for the sling, $12.99 for the QD slot to be able to mount it up front. And then I spent, I figured, an extra 4 magazines to get you started. The total for this gun as it sits, minus the dead air muzzle device up here, the flash hider, total is going to be $962, and you've got a fully complete gun. So let's get into it. What is this gun? So Unbranded AR is a sister company to US Optics and Zero Delta, which bought War Sport. So if you look at the, I think it's the LVOA rail from the War Sports of yesteryear, Zero Delta's guns use the same rail because they bought the company name and the rail design. So Zero Delta's on one side. Unbranded AR is the manufacturing side, and they decided to come up with, and they make parts for a lot of other guns. So you'll see parts on this gun that are out there on other bigger name brand guns, because it's probably because they actually make them. So they decided to come up with an unbranded gun to give you the best possible package for the lowest possible price. So starting at the front of the gun, it comes with an A2 style flash hider. I did swap that out for a 3-prong flash hider from Dead Air. Hider does the job, and the gun shot very, very well. 16-inch barrel. The rail itself is what you're gonna see normally these days, 7-sided M-lock, no frills, machined decently, but for a $650 gun, I'm not expecting the best. They did do an interrupted Picatinny on the top, so if you're going to be planning on mounting lights and lasers, you're gonna have to mount a laser up here and then a light on M-lock, which is gonna be totally normal. I feel you probably have enough real estate to do that, but if you're gonna be running nods, you're probably not gonna be running a $650 gun. I will say that on this rail, it is super slim. I don't know if I would trust it for long-term zero on a laser, but as far as just using a light, it is perfectly acceptable, and it is really easy to get your hand around and to be able to get a good grip on the gun. Made it really easy to shoot flat. Coming on back, the upper and lower are both forged, which is what you'd expect. Upper is going to have a standard style AR single-sided charge handle, which works well. Coming down, forward assist, which is a feature that Stoner laughed at, but I think you still need to have. But what's really cool is once you get under the dust cover here, there is an Ambi bolt release. Now, it's not an Ambi bolt catch, so it doesn't, catch like the Night system or the Radiant system where you can do a hold open with it. It is bolt release only, but to have that feature on a sub $2,000 gun, to have an Ambi bolt release, I think is pretty cool, especially considering you can put on an Ambi mag catch, you can put on an Ambi thumb safety or an Ambi safety, and now you have a full ambidextrous gun. So this is a pretty good base to start off with. The gun itself comes with 1 mag, but see, that's the thing though. You just saw that. I'm not going to edit this out. I went and I started pushing this bolt release instead of the mag catch. Now, have I done that before? No, not when I'm shooting, but I have actually, when I've gone to try to search for this Ambi bolt release, I have ended up finding the mag catch or the dust cover. So while it's a cool feature for a lefty, for a righty, I don't find it to be particularly useful. Maybe if I'm transitioning to my left side and having to figure out how to drop the bolt with that hand, it'd be nice, but I typically end up just transitioning the gun back to the other side. So nice feature to have, but definitely not something that sets my world on fire. Moving down, it's got an A2 style grip. It has a mil-spec trigger and safety. The trigger comes in at, I don't know, let's just look at it real quick. I haven't weighed it, but it's 4 pounds, 4.5-ish pounds. It's actually not as gritty as some other triggers that I've tried. In fact, it's really nice compared to maybe like an Aero Precision. So when people are looking in this budget range, they go, oh, well, I'll just, sub $1,000, I'll buy an Aero kit and I'll build it myself. I actually find this trigger to be better than an Aero Precision kit. Then your standard, I don't know what this is, the M4 style. I forgot the name of this specific buttstock. It's not the actual one, but it is a mold based on that M4 style. They left off the sling loop down at the bottom, which is no big deal because I don't use those. I always end up wrapping the sling around, but it's got the QD slots, normal positions. So overall, this gun right here is very, very feature packed to be able to get into it at under $1,000. And I think I forgot to mention the sling I got. It's just some Chinesium thing off of Amazon because I wanted to keep that budget under $1,000, and this is what I ended up with. Are there other options out there? Yeah, but honestly, this actually isn't bad. The nylon's nice and thick, and it does the job, but I did use cheap QD swivels, so they do move around and make a lot of noise. I'd probably just, tape that down or use some paracord to get that on there if I were a better man. So now, impressions on shooting this gun. 16 inches is going to give you plenty of velocity. I mean, obviously we're not talking 20-inch full length, but you're going to get plenty of velocity. It is not so long. I know people talk about, oh, I want to get a 10.5 for CQBR. Bro, I just don't know if that's really what you're going to be doing. 16 inches is perfectly acceptable. to be doing a lot of the stuff you're going to be doing, a lot of the training you're going to be doing, and it's a very light gun, but it's going to still allow you to have good velocity out to 200-300 yards. The gun itself is gassed very, very well out of the box. When I added the can on it, the ejection pattern got kind of weird and lazy. I think it's over-gassed once I put the suppressor on it, so I could fix that by changing out the gas block or tuning the gun at the back with springs and buffer, but I just didn't have enough money inside the budget to do that for $1,000. And also the suppressor would push you outside of that $1,000 bracket. So I'm not worried about shooting it suppressed. It works well. But for somebody else, your first gun, you're probably not going to put a suppressor on it, but it does make an acceptable suppressor host. Now, where this gun falls down for me in just general range is the optic. So getting into budget optics, it's just a crappy place to be because glass quality is bad, dot quality is bad, overall just usefulness, battery life, everything becomes bad when you get into most budget optics. And I wanted to have a magnifier so I could reach out beyond, 200-300 yards and make real consistent shots. I know people say, oh, I can do that with an unmagnified red dot, no problem. That's fine. Maybe you can, but you're probably using a good dot, whereas this Sig Romeo is not a good dot. I don't know what MOA it is, it's probably on the box, but the thing flares out. So as far as doing short range work with the dot, not a problem. Once you start going out and shooting 12-inch steel at 200 yards, okay, yeah, that's fucking easy. Once you start reaching out and you have different light conditions, meaning I was in the sun and then the target was in the shade, I had a real tough time seeing it, so I had to get the magnifier out just to be able to make hits at 200 and then back at 300. It was much more difficult because the dot blooms and you're constantly having to adjust the brightness manually. So that also is an issue. The batteries did die on me because I left them on the first time I mounted it. Totally forgot there was no auto shut off. Came back and the batteries were dead. So I don't know how long the batteries last on it, but it is not very long. So the dot quality is not good, but as far as being acceptable to train with, this is a good place to start. And then as you start shooting more, you spend some money on ammo, you spend some money on training. The first thing that you're going to want to upgrade is your optic, get a better optic. Then from there, maybe change the ergonomics a little bit. Honestly, this trigger is plenty good. I don't know if I would play with this trigger before anything else. Maybe the next step that I would add would be like a Radian Ambi safety. So get the 4590. I really like a 45 Ambi. Put a B5 Systems grip on it so it gets a little bit more of a vertical grip, because the old A2 style, the angle on it's just not my preferred grip angle. And then the stock itself, I might change that. Actually, on this gun, I might even just put it to like a Car 15 because it feels kind of the same to keep it super lightweight. But overall, accuracy, reliability had no issues. So for $1,000, Unbranded AR is going to be a very good place to start. And this would be a good platform to start an upgrade. So if you're looking like between Aero Precision and this, I would go here for sure. If you're looking at some of the other $700 ARs, there have definitely been some issues with them, and they're not going to have the features that this gun has. And if they're cheaper, the reality is they're probably going to have some much inferior parts inside of it, because the company that makes this gun is actually making the parts on it. So $1,000, bargain gun right here. Oh yeah, I forgot about the paint job. So the gun, I completely spaced. The gun comes black. I just paint all my guns because it is cool, it's the thing to do, but it also breaks up the outline and whatnot. So the anodizing on it was not super fantastic, but once you put the paint on it, you can't even tell. So paint your guns, make them look like you. So add a $5 in there for a can of spray paint, get some leaves and whatnot to paint it. And there you go, under $1,000. You've got a very good platform to start with and something that can grow with you to a certain point.